This is the video for Module 2, Lesson 3, Order of Operations. Order of Operations, an easy way to remember it, we call it B Pemdas. The B stands for brackets. And brackets look like this. The P stands for parentheses. And parentheses look like this. E stands for exponents. Exponents would be, an example would be 4 to the third power, which is the same as saying 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. I'm multiplying 4 3 times. M stands for multiplication. We all know the symbol is this. D stands for division. Symbol is this, and the reason I kept them the same color is because multiplication and division will happen at the same time from left to right in the expression. And the last one would be addition. And then subtraction, same color, goes with it also. They're at the same time, left to right. An easy way to try to remember this for brackets, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. An easy way to try to remember it is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So that's for order of operations. We use order of operations in order to solve expressions. So we're going to do some together to solve expressions to practice it. And the first thing when I'm solving an expression with using order of operations is that I write my please excuse my dear. I put on the same line because it happens at the same time, left to right. Okay. Aunt Sally, A and S happen at the same time, left to right as well, so that's why I write it that way. So it's B Pemdas is what I call it. And now we're going to look at our first expression, and remember an expression does not have an equal sign, so at no point should you put an equal sign in here. So we start and we ask ourselves, is there any brackets? That's what that B right here stands for, and there's no brackets. So I move on and I ask, are there any parentheses? And I see right here that 8 minus 5 is in parentheses, so I write that, and that's 3. And then I add everything else that I have not used up already. So I have a new expression, it's just simplified down a little. Now I go back to my list of B Pemdas and I have no more P's for parentheses. So I'm going to look at the letter E. There are no exponents. So then I look at my M and my D from multiplication and division going left to right, and I see that I do have a multiplication. So I have my 6 times 3, which is 18, and I add 9 plus 18. And then I get my final answer of 27, and I circle it because at no point am I writing an equal sign, and that's how I simplify it down. So I'm going to look at the one on the other side, letter B, and I look at here, there once again is no brackets, I'm starting at the letter B, and now I look for the letter P. There are parentheses right here, and inside the parentheses is 10 minus 5, which is 5, and I bring down anything I have not used, which then leaves me with a simple 5 times 5, and the answer is 25. We'll try 2 more. New clean page, so I'm going to write B Pemdas down again so I have my checklist. So there's my checklist. So there are no brackets yet again, and since there's no brackets, I now look for the parentheses. There are 2 sets of parentheses, and I always go left to right in my expression when I have 2 of the same thing. So since I have this first parentheses here, I'm going to solve 14 minus 5, which is 9, and I'm going to rewrite everything else. Now go back to my chart. There's another set of parentheses still, so I'm not done with the letter P up there. And since I'm not done with the letter P, I do my 9 minus 6 is 3. And then I have my 9 divided by 3. And my final answer for that would be 3, and I would circle it. Letter D on the right-hand side, once again, we start with brackets. We don't see any brackets. So since we don't see any brackets, we go to parentheses, and parentheses we have 5 minus 3, which would be 2. And then we rewrite everything else. And now 20 plus 2, that we're left is a nice simple problem right there, is 22. Now we're getting to have some longer expressions. We still keep our basic B, Pemdas, and we start with brackets. There are no brackets. Then we go to parentheses, and there are no parentheses. Then we look at exponents. There are no exponents. So then I get to multiplication and division. And we said they happen at the same time, left to right. So the first thing, there's multiple things up here. There is multiplication and there is division. But I see that the multiplication comes first in this problem, so that is what I do first. So 5 times 8 is 40. And I rewrite everything else. And then I look again, and I'm still on my multiplication and division line, and I see there is a division problem in there, so 6 divided by 6 is 1. So then I write everything around it that I don't use right away, and so now I can still use it. And now I move on. There is no more multiplication and division, so I'm moving on to addition and subtraction. And in my question, addition and subtraction happen at the same time, left to right, and in this case I see an addition problem before I see a subtraction problem. So that's what I do. And then I carry down the numbers. I apologize, it's a subtraction, not a division. And then I'm left with subtraction that I have to solve. And in this case, it would get me to 29. Now I'm over on letter F, and I start again. There are no brackets, parentheses, or exponents. And when I look for multiplication and division, I see in this case that the multiplication is there first, which leaves me with a very simple problem of 72 divided by 9, which gets me to 8. Letter G is a repeat of one we've already done, so I'm not going to solve that one, but we will solve letter H, so we have B Pemdas again. And there's no brackets, parentheses, or exponents, so that I do notice that I need to do multiplication or division. In this case, the division does come first, left to right, so that's what I solve first. And now I'm left with 2 times 6, and I end up with 12. Just to get a little more practice, because this is something that is new, here's some more problems for B Pemdas. I apologize, I'm writing too quickly. And I'm going to start with my brackets, which there are none, and then there are parentheses. So I'm going to add my 8 plus 3, which is in the parentheses, and then I'm going to multiply and subtract. I write that all back down. And now I'm done with all my parentheses, and I see that I'm up to exponents, which there are none of. And then I see I'm up to multiplication and division. There is a multiplication problem, so I put that in, and I bring down a subtracting of 10. And then I see that all I've left is a subtraction problem. I can solve that and circle it. So now for a little change on letter J, there are 2 operations within the parentheses. So when I go to my parentheses, I keep following order of operations within the parentheses. So I see that I have 4 minus 3 plus 1, and in the parentheses I follow exponents, which there are none, multiplication and division, which there are none, then addition and subtraction in order left to right. Well, in my parentheses, the 4 minus 3 comes first, so I write that as a 1. And then I keep the rest of the parentheses together that I haven't used yet. Now I still have parentheses, so I still have to do what is in the parentheses. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Now I can drop the parentheses because it's just a single number, and I'm left with 2 times 5. Then after 2 times 5, I have 10, and I have my final answer. The final 2 that I'm going to work on are right here is letter K and L we're going to use for now. And so we have our B Pemdas, So we're going to start with brackets. That's what these are over here. These are brackets. So I have to do everything in the brackets first. So since I have those brackets, the first thing I'm going to do in my brackets is find the parentheses. And in this case, they are right here. So that would be a 7. I rewrite everything else in the brackets, keeping the brackets there because there is another operation to do in there. And I rewrite my 2 on the outside and make sure I don't forget it. Now I follow what's in the brackets, which is 13 minus 7, which is 6. I'm going to keep the brackets because there's no operation next to that 2. When you have no operation between brackets and a number, it is telling you to multiply. So in this case, 2 times 6 is 12. Over here on letter L, I have no brackets, but I do have parentheses. Since I do have parentheses, I'm going to solve what's in there first and leave it in parentheses because the number next to it does not have an operation with it. So now I'm going to remind myself that this really is telling me 3 times 4. Since it's telling me 3 times 4, I do multiplication before addition. So this is a 12, and then I have to add 20 plus 12. 20 plus 12 is 32. And this is the video for order of operations.